Here we go again. We have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So you know what we do on the weekends. We go through the Apple news. I usually go through about 20 or 25 different Apple-related news stories. I go through a whole bunch of Apple tech sales as well. This week was a little bit screwed up because of the Amazon sale, so I'm doing this on Friday instead of Saturday. But instead of that, just sit back and relax, and let's get into the Apple news. All right, so for story number one, if you have not been under a rock lately, here it is right here at Mac Rumors. It says alleged M4 MacBook Pro unboxing video reveals these 4 upgrades. So if you take a look in here, this guy right here, it says the alleged unboxing video for an unannounced 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M4 chip. This is the straight M4 base chip. Was unloaded on YouTube today via a Russian channel. And here's the guy right here. This video was later linked to a social media X platform. So long story short is we don't know if this is real or not, but it's looking to the fact that it might be, and people like Max Tech and people like that are actually thinking it might be real. And it's not so much this video and this actual MacBook, but the actual benchmarks got posted, which we're going to get into in a second, on Geekbench, and they think that those are actually real posts of the M4 chip. But the other changes that might be coming, before we get into the benchmarks, let's take a look at the changes that might be coming. Well, first of all, it has to do with the CPU, obviously. It says up to 25% faster M4 chip. So it lists the box on this video as a 14-inch MacBook Pro having the M4 chip. So it's basically going to come with a 10-core CPU. The important thing here is that's a 10-core CPU on the M4 base model. Used to only have 8 cores. This is up to 10 cores. We didn't know if it was going to be 9 or 10 cores. It looks like it's going to be 10 according to this, all right? So up to 25% faster, and we'll get into that in a second. The next couple of changes here is 16 gigs of RAM. That's actually a huge thing we were expecting, and I'd be crying if that wasn't true. That better be true in the Mac Mini. It better be true in the MacBook Air. And 16 gigs of RAM. Now, it says right here, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports as well. We were expecting that, and adding one more of those to the other side. So this is the base model, mind you. It didn't have one over there, so now that's going to be added. And then finally, Space Black on all the different models, including the base model. So that's going to be kind of interesting as well. But the one thing that's missing from this is, maybe having, extra space, like a terabyte or something as the base model, or 512. I guess 512 does come with the Pro model. But I guess, we definitely need more space, right? But it doesn't look like Apple's doing that this round around. So there's that video. Now let's look at the benchmarks. This is where it gets interesting. So right here, this is going to be this is a MacBook Pro, but this is with the M3 chip. So this is the M3 base chip. It's not the M3 Pro, it's the M3 only. Look what this scored before. This is an older score, 3,082 and then 11,581. You can see it right there. That's the multi-core Geekbench 6. Here's the single core. The new chip that they actually posted, look at this, 3,864 on single core, 15,288 on multi-core. Now, keep that in mind. I'm going to go back so it went from 3,082 on the M3 to 3,864 on the M4. And then it went from, this is the biggest thing, 11,581 all the way up to 15,288. That is incredible, actually. That means it's almost over 25% increase just from the base M3 to the base M4 due to the more cores probably, even though there's less performance cores. Overall, I think this is a pretty big news story overall. And we're thinking that this is definitely going to be true. At least it's going to be in this realm. So I think we're going to be happy, and you should probably hold off on the M3s right now unless you find a good sale. Now, this next article is what we're all thinking, right? When are the M4s, or at least the M4 Pros and stuff, MacBook Pros coming out? When are they going to come out? Here from Mac Rumors, it says, will Apple release M4 Max soon? Here's the latest rumors, what the latest rumors say. I'm just going to scroll down to the meat of the article. It says right here, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, you always hear about him, recently claimed that Apple's planning a Mac-related event towards the end of October, with the company intending to launch the new M4 base Macs as of Friday, November 1st. So he says going on past years is a good bet. So basically what's going to happen is that they're actually going to launch them, be ready on November 1st. So he's thinking the event might be held like really late in October. And that's exactly what we were kind of thinking. So there's no changes there. Although I'm kind of getting a little bit worried because they haven't announced anything yet. And we're at the 10th already, or the 11th, I think, whatever day is today. So we're getting closer. I hope Apple announces soon. Oh yeah, and just one follow-up piece to this. So we know what's coming out at the end of October. We've already talked about it quite a bit. But what is being pushed back to 2015? What is going to be coming out in 2015 that's going to be some key products? Right here, this is from 9to5Mac. It says Gurman also expects the following products in the first half of 2025. So he's expecting the M4 13 and 15-inch MacBook Airs, the new iPhone SE, which I'm going to talk about in a second, the new 11 and 13-inch iPad Airs, which is kind of surprising, right? Because those didn't come out too long ago. The new Magic Keyboards for the iPad Air, refreshed AirTags. And then the article, there's another article I read that goes on to say that the Mac Studio, which is actually, we've been waiting forever for that, right? That's coming out around the middle, he thinks, around June or July of 2025. And then he says the Mac Pro, which I think we don't even need anymore. I think everyone's forgot about that. He's saying around November of 2025, which is crazy to me, right? Because that thing right now is useless. Nobody should buy that. I mean, it's just crazy that they're even selling it anymore, with especially the Mac Studio coming out first. You would think they would do those together, but he's saying that they're going to be kind of tiered, and they're going to wait all the way to the October, November of next year for the Studio, or for the Mac Pro, which is crazy. The Studio should be the middle of the year. Okay, for the next one here, this is exactly what I was thinking, but you tell me. Let's just read this first, and then we'll come back to it. Mac Rumors says Apple's shift towards more staggered releases could bring more innovation and be less predictable, basically. Apple appears to be slowly moving away from these regular timed hardware and software releases that come on an annual basis, instead favoring more staggered product releases cycles, Bloomberg Mark Gurman reports. He's telling us everything, right? He must have really good inside information. So, long story short, first of all, as you know, I mean, Apple Intelligence, various products are coming out right now, and Apple's never done this before. They've actually tried to always meet these kind of hard deadlines, but it seems like as we get more and more like higher end technology, I mean, the Vision Pros and stuff, it seems like they're kind of missing those deadlines, but they try to release things before they were ready. Like Apple Intelligence is going to come out staggered over the next couple months, maybe the next year or two. It's just going to be crazy, and Apple never used to do that. So it goes on down here to say, Gurman suggests that Apple could continue on this path, adopting a new strategy that will see it release products when they are ready, rather than basically pushing to get devices out on a scheduled timeline. And I think that's exactly what I was thinking. Apple needs to wait until these things are ready. They keep showing these commercials with the Apple Intelligence. You've seen them on AT&T and stuff where they have the little flashing light on the phone. But 8.1 or 18.1, isn't even out yet on iOS, so you can't even get that right now. So it just doesn't make any sense to me what they're doing. So I think this is a better approach. Apple, I don't care if you have you don't need to meet specific, you want to meet dates once you announce them, but you don't have to have these dates every year. Just make sure when it's ready, then you schedule the thing and let us know, and then you deliver the product on that date. I think that's a much better approach than always just meeting November or always meeting March. Make sure it's ready first and then ship it. Okay, this is not the best sale in the world, and I kind of just said wait for the M4s, but still, here's one right here from Apple. So this is the Apple 2003. This is going to be the M3 chip, 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 14.2-inch. The only reason you'd pick this up is it's got 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, $16.99. Now again, this is only the M3, but you're getting that huge 1 terabyte SSD, at least for Apple, it's a huge 1 terabyte SSD, right? And 16 gigs of RAM. So those are two upgrades right there, and it's $16.99. Usually that would be $15.99, but now it's with these two upgrades, only $16.99. You're saving, $300? I think that's actually a really good deal there. Now, most people need the RAM, most people need the SSD, most people don't need the extra CPU power. I mean, unless you're doing high-end video editing and stuff, so you probably won't even notice that. I mean, the M3 chip is it's so fast already, it doesn't really matter. But you might as well get the other things on here for $100 more. So I think overall, that's a great deal, but you may want to wait until the M4 just to see what's coming. Okay, I thought this next one was interesting. We were just talking about Apple Intelligence, and here's an article right here by Mac Rumors that says all of the Apple Intelligence features not coming in iOS 18.1. So 18.1 is coming out soon. Actually, there's going to be an 18.01 that you should get, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But 18.1 is coming soon enough in October sometime. But these are all the features that are not coming, not with that feature. So these are going to be missing in that release, which is kind of surprising. So if you scroll down here, it says number 1, Image Playground. Image Playground will let you generate cartoon style images. So you've seen this a million times on Apple, all the commercials and stuff. Supposedly, this will not be coming with that release, which is kind of crazy to me, right? We got to wait until 18.2, 18.3. Who knows? It could be months. Genmoji right here. So Genmoji is a similar playground feature, but it's a feature that lets you generate any emoji that you want. You can see it down here. They've been talking about this as well. Supposedly, this is not coming as well. This is what they're saying in the article. This may not be coming in this release. You're going to have to wait until the next release, which again is crazy to me. All right. Image Wand. Image Wand is an image playground feature that's coming on the Notes app. You can use it to insert images into notes based on context. On the iPad, you can draw a crude graphic and have the image wand whip something up. We've seen it down here where you can draw something and it's going to whip something up better. That's not going to be coming either, so that won't be coming in 18.1 supposedly. And then down here it says priority notifications will show up at the top of your notification stack so you can get that what's most important to you first. Supposedly that's not coming. I mean, let's just read this article here. It says right in here, what's not coming here, right here, 18.1, so what's not? So, I mean, this is what it's saying. I don't know if I should believe it or not, but that's what's happening. Then down here it says Mail. In the Mail app, Apple's adding a feature that will basically sort your incoming messages into categories automatically for better management of things like newsletters and purchase emails. Supposedly that's not coming. And then Siri. Some initial Siri updates are coming, and basically some initial Siri updates are coming, such as Siri's new glow that encompasses the edges of the display, which we talked about. But a lot of the more advanced functionality isn't going to be available. Apple's working on on-screen awareness, personal context, and the ability to take more actions. So basically, the things where you can keep talking, have a conversation with it. It knows all the things around you. It knows all of the apps you're using, all of your information. It looks like that's not coming either, which is crazy to me. So we're going to be waiting on that as well. I think we all knew that one wasn't coming. So then it says Chat GPT integration. Apple's adding a feature basically for this. Supposedly that may not be coming. It says, but this won't be available in 18.1. So if you're waiting for Chat GPT integration, not yet. You're going to have to wait maybe another couple months, which is crazy. Additional languages, not coming. So it says, when to expect more Apple Intelligence features. And, in here it says we'll get iOS 18.2 before the end of 2024. So who knows? That could be December for all we know. And we don't know when 18.3, 18.4 is going to be coming out. So this is kind of a crazy approach, going back to the article we just talked about, where they have to have things ready before they actually introduce them. I know that they were so far behind on AI, and they'll probably win out. I believe that in a year or two, they're going to probably be the best at it. But it's just not really fully baked right now, especially on the Mac and stuff, which is kind of crazy. So, or even on iOS and stuff. So overall, I think it's just something that's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation. Okay, so we just talked about 18.1 iOS. Here's the one that you actually should get right now, because this fixes a whole bunch of bugs and stuff. Mac Rumors, it says update now. iOS 18.0.1 includes these bug fixes and security patches. So if you scroll down here, it says touchscreen may be temporarily unresponsive in certain circumstances on the iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Pro model, so get this to fix it. Camera may freeze when recording macro mode video on the ultra-wide camera and the 4K with HDR turned off on the iPhone 16 Pro models. Messages may basically quit while replying to a message with a shared Apple Watch face. Performance may be impacted due to an issue with memory allocation on some iPhone models. That's the main thing here for the bug fixes. But the security patches is down here. So what it's going to fix is basically for all iPhone 16 models, impact audio messages, and messages may be able to capture a few seconds of audio before the microchip indicator is activated. Description: this issue is addressed with improved checks. And then basically passwords. It's got some password fixes down here. Impact: a user's saved passwords may be read aloud by voiceover. Description. So you get the idea. There's definitely some things in here you want to fix. I mean, they're very, very specific cases, so they probably won't affect you. But overall, the performance on the iPhone 16s and stuff like that is the main one. Just get this thing. It's a no-brainer. Just update it right now. Okay, another quick sale I'm going to throw in here. Not a huge sale, just trust me, but it is at its lowest price, at least as of this video. Here it is right here, $65, the Apple Pencil USB-C version. You can see 18% off at Apple. That's something. Usually $80, $65. It says lowest price in 30 days. So 4.5, you get the idea. Apple doesn't do a lot of sales, so if you need the Apple Pencil with the USB-C, now's the time to pick one up. All right, this next one I wanted to talk about, not so much about the game that's coming up, but there's a new game coming out here, which you might be interested in. But I thought about why Apple's not ever going to be that great with gaming, and there's a reason for it, and I'm going to get into that in a second here. So look at this. Apple Insider, zombie horror Resident Evil 2 heads to Mac on December 31st. So long story short, if you kind of scroll down here, it says basically the Resident Evil franchise has been slowly moving into Apple's ecosystem. Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7, basically, they're already out. There's one more fast-moving fright on its way. It's going to be Resident Evil 2. So here it is right here. So Resident Evil 2 is coming out soon, December. That's for all it's worth, an older version of it, right? But this is the key thing down here. Look down here. It says the game requires a Mac with an M1 or better Apple Silicon chip running macOS 13, but it's also listed as being 22.1 gigabytes downloaded, but over 31 installed. So it's going to use 31 gigabytes installed for that one Resident Evil game. And herein lies the issue with all of Macs, right? So Mac starts, I don't think they're changing the 256 gigabytes base level Mac, and a lot of people buy that. A lot of people at the most get to 512, even if they're lucky. I mean, how many of these games can you put on, right? So if Mac ever became a gaming system, they have to do something with their storage. You can maybe boot off an external or use an external for your games, but still, let's just be honest. I mean, if I'm going to put 2 games on here and eat up, 40% of my space on a base level. It just doesn't work for gaming, right? I think therein lies one of the huge issues. Like on obviously Windows PCs that you build yourself, and for gamers, they can throw in huge SSDs, put a ton of games on there. But with a Mac, you're really going to be paying, you're not going to want to go out and spend like, $2 or $3 grand on a couple terabytes of SSD space just to play Resident Evil, are you? Who knows? Here's a cool article just because Apple never reveals this information. It's just interesting to know. Mac rumors, iPad Pro shipments projections slashed on sluggish OLED panel demand. It says Apple's M4 Pro models with OLED displays are reportedly facing a weaker than expected demand since their debut in the second quarter, according to an analyst, which is kind of crazy. So it says, basically, Ross Young reports that shipments of the 11-inch model are likely to decrease by 40% in the third quarter and another 30% in the fourth quarter compared to the previous quarter. The larger 13-inch model is said to be experiencing even steeper decline, with shipments projected to drop by over 50% and then 90% in the third and fourth quarters, respectively. So it's saying it's being attributed to basically the $999 price, the very, very expensive price. Like I said before in one of my old videos, they're just really expensive. I mean, you could buy a MacBook or something for the same cost. I know it's two different people that buy these, but still, the cost, I think, is kind of weighing this down. Now, he goes on to say that it's not so much the M4, but the M4 is just not needed. Like I keep telling people, the M2 can do the job. So you're going to kind of get in this situation. I mean, they still sell a ton of iPads. There's no doubt about it, and I'm going to show you that later. But you guys tell me, I mean, are we in agreement that the M4 right now is not needed on this thing? I know it's nice maybe to have, but an M4 was definitely not needed. I mean, they should have maybe put maybe even an M3 or an left it at the M2 and just dropped the cost or something, and you can do just about 95% of what you can do with the M2 on the M4. Okay, this next one I'm just going to have a link to if you guys want to check this out. It's kind of interesting to me. Here's a YouTube channel. It's called Joey Helms. You can see it down here. That's the name of the channel. Long story short is this is the iPhone 16 Pro. He took the actual phone, the iPhone 16 Pro, he attached it to a drone, and he did like a whole movie, a short movie on it, showing you the whole thing is done on that thing. He even attached it to a drone, which is crazy. Here's a quick snippet of it. I'm not going to play too much. I get a copyright strike. But look at it on its drone. You can't really see it here, but you get the idea. It's not going to show up really that clear, but you'll see it. This is all real, and he drives around with the drone. He also does just normal shots, but he spices it all together with music and stuff. And again, just check it out. I'll have a link to his channel. It's called Joey Helms, and he said he shot everything in 4K ProRes log footage, and then obviously alter the colors as needed. But he showed that how much can be done just with the phone now, which is kind of crazy. And it's just interesting to watch. Okay, this next one we talked about many times, but I just want to give you an update on what's kind of being baked in right now and what it's going to have. So right here from 9 to 5 Mac, Apple's next iPhone will be the best option for most buyers, and I actually have to agree, and this is probably the one I will pick up. So we're talking about the iPhone SE 4. They're expecting this in spring, and look at this. So far, this is what we're thinking. It's going to basically be an iPhone 14 style design with OLED and no home button, Face ID and a notch. The A18 chip, so it will be AI, Apple, intelligence capable, which is crazy. Apple Intelligence support right here. 8 gigs of RAM, which is a lot. 48 megapixel camera, likely like the iPhone 16's. USB-C port, and then the first ever Apple designed 5G modem. And then they don't know, but basically the cost, they're saying it'll go from like $429 up to $499 maybe. So for $499, that's probably the most attractive deal for just about everybody. I don't see why you would need more than that. I mean, I know the cameras and maybe there's the widescreen or like the macro. There's some little differences there if you're like a super professional. But again, for 90% of people, what else do you need here? This could be something that's huge, and it could be something that eats into some of the other thing. I know the Pro versions are always getting bought the most. This could maybe eat into that. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, I've talked about this one as well, but I just want to prove it to you one more time here. Look over here, Apple Insider. Compared, it says Apple's AirPods Max versus AirPods Max with the USB-C. So Apple said that they came out with a new AirPods Max, new or whatever. So we scroll down here just to show you this graph here. Take a look. Here's the 2020 model. Here's the 2024. It says same cost. Same. The only difference right here is USB-C and Lightning. Look at that. That's it. And then same. That's it. The cost is the same. So at the end of the day, I don't think you should buy the new one. You should basically buy the one right. Let me actually get to it. The one right here, $394 and versus $550, and you're going to get the Lightning port. But who in the world cares, right? You can have a converter on there if you need it, but it doesn't even matter because it plugs into the device. The other end, I mean, what's the big deal? I just don't get it here. To save the money, don't let Apple do this to you. I mean, don't spend the extra, what is it, $150, $160 now plus tax on that. So maybe $180, $190 for a USB-C port. If someone told you that you had to buy a USB-C cable for $180. Would you do it? Of course you wouldn't. So don't buy that. Buy this one with the Lightning, and it's probably not going to be available that much longer. So, but I totally recommend this because everything's the same. Okay, this next one actually worries me because of the computer I have sitting right here, and I'll get into this, what it is right here. Apple Insider. M1 iMacs failing with dark horizontal lines on screen. So I have one sitting right here. Let's go down here. It says an unknown but growing number of iMac users are reporting display failures with their M1 iMacs, typically around 2 years after purchase. Mine's about 2 years old, so this is not good. It says Apple has had screen issues of various types before, and it's perhaps not surprising given the complexity of designs, but this one has extra sting that it appears to be mostly happening on iMacs out of warranty, it says down here. So here's a picture of what it kind of looks like. It's hard to tell, but there's like these little banding lines below this, and there's a big dark line across it, so it's kind of crazy there. So it says reports have basically continued, and it appears that users have been advised to pay for the screen replacement. Now the article goes on to say that he sent it to Apple, and there's basically a little cable on there that it seems to be the cable's burning out. But it says Apple does not include the iMac in its online repair cost estimator. But it says when they remove that little thing, you have to remove. Basically, it destroys the whole panel. And it says to replace the panel, they've been quoted between $650 to $700 for the new screen. So you can pick these things up for $700-800 now. Why would I spend $700 on a screen? This is the dilemma that we're in. So I'll keep you guys notified if this happens to mine. But if anyone else has an issue with theirs like that, definitely post in the comments. I'm curious if this is really widespread or just a rumor on Apple Insider that they saw, but it's not really a big deal. Okay, so I always talk about the Vision Pro, and it needs a ton of people working on it. It needs tons of software coming out for it to be successful. It's just not happening. So over here at 9to5Mac, it says here's Apple's lineup of new immersive content coming soon to Vision Pro. So we scroll down here, and I'm like thinking like it could be like just huge libraries of stuff, but it lists like NBA All-Star Weekend 2024, a new immersive short film, the Weekend immersive music video following basically the Weekend. He has one video coming out that's immersive. One's if you don't like the Weekend, right? I mean, that's a big problem. Adventure, there are 2 more episodes on the way of Apple's Adventure series. Concert for one. So I'm thinking like maybe this is the big thing. I thought maybe you could watch concerts live all the time, sitting in the front row, looking around. It would be incredible. No, concert for one. Similar to the excellent Alicia Keys video, this is going to basically be Apple's launching an official concert for one series later this year. It's going to basically have a British singer, Ray. So it's going to have one person. So if you don't like that guy either, it's not like a whole concert series. It's just one person. They call it a concert series because it's like the second or third one. And then elevated the first episode of some other show. But this is what I'm saying. They're actually listing individual things that you might get, used for this. But you're spending $3,500, $4,000 on this device. It should be a whole ecosystem of stuff you can pick from, like YouTube immersive. I mean, everything. Not just like, do I like this guy? Do I like this guy? Do I like the NBA? One game or something. This is why it's going to fail. They need to make the cost less. They need to get developers on board. Otherwise, I mean, I'm only calling them out because I want this to be a success, right? But there's no way that people are going to get into this when you have like these little drops of things coming out. I mean, I don't even like this guy, Ray. I don't even know who he is, so I'm not going to watch it. But overall, I think at least they got something coming out. But you guys tell me in the comments, am I on the right track here, or is this is something you should be excited about? All right, a couple more good sales as of today. Again, these are subject to change, but these are owned by Apple. Beats is owned by Apple. So here's one here. Beats Studio Pro wireless Bluetooth noise canceling headphones. I thought it was a good deal. It's 51% off, usually $349, $169. It says limited time deal, so I can't guarantee, these will even be available when you check it. But still, if you definitely check it out if you're thinking about that. That's a 51% savings. And then the other Beats here is going to be Beats Solo 4 wireless Bluetooth on-ear headphones. There's some various colors and stuff, but $99 only, 50% off, usually $200. That's another really good deal. This is the slate blue color right here. You can see that blue color. But anyways, 2 more sales after the Amazon sales. There's still a good bunch of sales on there, so definitely go back to Amazon and check them out. But anyways, here's 2 more for you. Okay, so this next one's actually to help keep everyone safe out there for security. Take a look over here, Mac Rumors. Here's why you shouldn't use iPhone mirroring on a corporate Mac. So long story short, you guys know that there's a new feature, iPhone mirroring, and you can use it with your, you can mirror your iPhone to your Mac. But they're saying don't do it if you don't own the Mac, like on a friend's Mac or a corporate Mac. So here it is. It says Apple's new iPhone mirroring feature in macOS Sequoia might seem like a convenient way to access your phone from your work computer, but security expert Servco has uncovered a significant privacy risk that should make employees think twice before enabling this. So if you have have a work computer, I'm just going to scroll down. There's a whole bunch of information in here as far as what it does and how it works and all that stuff. And I'm not going to kind of trouble you on that. I'm just going to tell you exactly what they say here. So it says for employees, this means that the apps they use privately could become visible to their employer's IT department without their knowledge or consent. This could potentially reveal sensitive personal information such as dating apps, health-related apps, VPNs, with countries that it's restricted in. So like let's say you're in China or Russia where you can't, they're restricting VPNs, you could get caught like that. So really crazy, right? And then it says down here, it says Cervico has alerted Apple of this privacy concern, but the company reportedly is working on a fix. The company is reportedly working, so it looks like they are kind of working on the fix Apple so far. But just out there, just don't use it like on a third-party Mac or your friend's Mac or a work computer or anything like that, because overall right now there's a security breach in there and they're fixing it and should be done soon. On this channel, we always talk too about China and basically how Apple's trying to leave China slowly and quietly, I guess, without them really realizing it. Here's another reason why. It says 9 to 5 Mac. China has detained 4 employees from the world's largest iPhone plant. So it says, let's just scroll down here. It says China has detained 4 Taiwanese employees from Foxconn's plant, the largest iPhone production facility in the world, responsible for around 80% global production. It says 4 Taiwan employees at a Chinese facilities that make products for Apple have been detained by authorities. It says one of the agencies said that employees were accused of offense akin to breach of trust, although the exact nature of the allegations could not be determined. So whatever that means, right? But look at this. This is where it gets crazy. China announced its new rules targeting individuals it labels as Taiwan independence dieharders, threatening them with the death penalty. So here are these 4 people are working from Taiwan, and they get kind of taken out of production line, and all of a sudden now they're being detained. And now they're saying, not that this might happen, I don't know, but it's saying that according to this article, the death penalty could be possible. Isn't this crazy, right? So this is one of the reasons why they're kind of moving away, if it wasn't obvious already. And it's just one of those things where you got to do it, but you got to do it slowly, otherwise everything could collapse. So obviously we're in a little tense situation with all the chips being made in Taiwan and stuff like that. That's why we're all moving it over to Arizona. But it's just an interesting article overall, and how things are moving around in the world. A little while ago, I talked about the M4 iPads having like a slump in their sales and stuff, but Apple's still the big leader here. I just think, this is kind of unveiling the curtain because Apple does not release this information. So it's fun to see the statistics when other people do. Apple Insider says Apple's iPad maintains lead as tablet market expanded in Q2 of 2024. So I don't care about all that, but look at this graph. This is what I wanted to show you. It says Source Counterpoint Research tablet tracker. So here it is. Take a look at this. So long story short, this is Apple down here. They have 30% of the market in 2023, 37% and 37%. So they stayed the same. 20% is Samsung here. And then obviously the increases are over here as far as how much they shipped, but the actual market share is over here. So 6% is basically Huawei, and that's up to 7%. 7% for Lenovo went to 7%. So they're all staying pretty, very similar. But the interesting part in all of this is Apple has 30% of the market, which is kind of crazy. And it seems like they're all increasing. Some of these are increasing a ton. Look at this, 92%, 16%, 49%. Apple's only at 14%, but they're holding strong as far as the world market share. And it's just interesting kind of information that Apple never puts out there. So for all it's worth, if you're an investor or something, this is some information you might be able to use. Okay, so we have another data breach, and it's just good to know this information. I don't know personally if I would ever put information in here or not, but who knows. Here it is right here, 9 to 5 Mac. The Internet Archive data breach exposes 31 million users. Basically, it's also under a DOS attack. So the Internet Archive data breach has been confirmed by the organization, which has also been suffering distributed denial attacks, but they don't think they're related. So if you've ever been out to like this, basically, the Internet Archive, you've seen it out there, that kind of website, it's kind of crazy. So it says, the Internet Archive's The Wayback Machine has suffered a data breach after a threat actor compromised the website and stole the user authentication database containing 31 million unique records. This is crazy. So the threat shared the Internet's archive database 9 days ago, and it's 6.4 gigabytes file. It's an SQL file. The database contains information of registered members, including their email addresses, screen names, password change timestamps, decrypt hashed passwords and other internal data. So long story short, I'm not sure if you've used this before, but if you've used the the Internet Archive or ever put your information in there, it looks like they got 31 million more people here. And nothing's being done with these companies. It happens. It's happened with AT&T and I think T-Mobile and all these different companies, but nothing gets done. So for all it's worth, this is another thing you might want to check if if you've been around this site and done some stuff with them. Definitely check to see if you're one of those people. Check all your accounts and see what's going on. All right, it's a sad day for iPod lovers. Not iPad, but iPod. Mac rumors. Apple says final iPad Nano and iPod Shuffle models are now obsolete. Apple added the final iPad Nano and iPod Shuffle models to its obsolete product list. And then it says Apple considers the device to be obsolete once 7 years have passed since the company stopped distributing it for sale. Once the device is obsolete, it will no longer be eligible for repair. The only alternative is Mac, I think it said screens here. It says up to 10 years on MacBook batteries, up to 10 years. But all other devices, you can't get them fixed anymore, so they're basically on the obsolete. That means it's the end of an era for iPods. Does anyone still use an iPod? Post in the comments if you do. I know a lot of people have them just sitting like somewhere, like the battery's probably melting away or something. But do you actually still use them? I'm just curious to know. Okay, and we're going to wrap this up with the final sale. So if you're a video editor and you just need like a really powerhouse of a system, I think this is a pretty good deal, even with the M4s coming out. Here's the M3 Max chip, so that's a huge chip right there. 16-core CPU, 40-core GPU, 16-inch, obviously it's a 16-inch screen here, 48 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. $34.99 right now. Usually $34.99. Usually, what is that? $500 off or so. So still a pretty good deal. 13% off on an Apple product is not bad. So I think if you're like need all that stuff, I think if you're waiting for the M4s, you're going to be paying up for it. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that cost. So you might want to consider this if you're like a big video editor. You just need that much power. Most people don't, just to be honest with you. But you might as well take up Apple when they give you a sale. You might as well buy one. So all right, we're going to wrap this up. This is a little bit negative, I guess, on Apple today because there's a lot of weird things going on, but it was what's in the news, I guess. So obviously I do all the Apple products and I showcase all their new stuff. The new stuff should be coming out hopefully later this month. We're going to have a whole bunch of videos on that as well. So just sit back and subscribe if you can and enjoy the news, enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you either Sunday or Monday. Have a good one. Peace.